I never like looking directly at the camera.
Yeah.
I always feel sort of like... I still remember when my first daughter, Malia, was born, and we brought her home. And that first night, she's sleeping in our room in the little bassinet next to our bed. And I couldn't sleep because, first of all, I had the usual thing that first-time parents do. You know, is she still breathing? Is she okay? Because they're so small and they look so delicate, although they're tougher than they look. But it was also the notion that, you know, you suddenly have this new life here, and you're responsible for them. And you are going to make an enormous difference by just the smallest of gestures, just a hug or a kiss or singing a song to them. And it really, I think, entirely changes your perspective in a way that continues to grow as you get older. It's the most magical thing, and the most difficult thing about me being in politics is reconciling the commitment I have to children all across the country, wanting to make their lives better, wanting to make sure that they've got opportunity, and wanting to take my kids to the zoo. And sometimes those things are hard to reconcile. It is part of what fuels my work, but there are times, you know, frankly, where, you know, as a father, I wish that I was a little less busy so that I could really enjoy the moments that I have with them now, because it's the best. It's not simply a burden, or a responsibility. It's the most fun I have is just sitting there watching my girls play, or talking to them and listening to their stories.
Do you have any special plans for Father's Day?
I want to be completely spoiled by my children, and so I expect, you know, some handmade Father's Day cards. Maybe they fix me breakfast. Michelle sometimes helps out the girls, and they fix me what the girls call a delicious buffet. So I will eat, and then hopefully I'll just get a chance to go hang out with them. And you know, who knows what they've got in store. They've always got something up their sleeve.
Do you think about your own father on Father's Day?
You know, I do. I think about him as somebody who I think is an object lesson. You know, he was in many ways very brilliant and very accomplished, but I think never really knew how to be the kind of father that his children needed him to be. I was less affected by it simply because he was absent. As I've written about in my first book, Dreams from My Father, he was, I think, harder in some ways on my half-brothers and sisters who lived with him. Oftentimes I think about the sadness of him not knowing his children as well as he could have, and not having the kind of stable family life that I think would have ultimately satisfied him. And in that way, I try to learn from his mistakes and make sure that the relationship I have with my children is one that not only I value, but strengthens them and makes them feel like they've got a sturdy base to stand on. As somebody who grew up without a father in the home, you know, I have a pretty good sense of what that means and the long-term void that isn't filled when a father's not in the home. And I think when I see young African-American men who in some ways had less than I did, who were less financially stable, maybe didn't have the support of grandparents to go along with a mother to support them, and I see them drifting and getting into trouble and getting involved in drugs and criminal activity, I think that there is a social consequence to that as well as a personal consequence. And we need to see what we can do to make sure that fathers are valued, that our policies are encouraging them to be part of their children's lives, that they are lifted up as important in stitching back together the kind of strong communities that we need for children to thrive.